Good morning, Warren. This is my gratitude garden for the week, and a lot to process and be grateful for over the weekend. Um, we had another case of COVID come to our attention that was in the building over the weekend, and uh, just overwhelmed with once again, the sense of community that comes with the job, the people I get to work with. I had communications Sunday um, around 8 in the morning from one of our secretaries, um, and went into the building and had, uh, you know, Nikki and Sue helping me process information, and then Heather Emerson, our nurse, came in, and everybody was there helping out and working together to deliver communication and make sure that we contact traced appropriately. And I mean, just the fact that, it's a Sunday, and we have so many people who are just willing to drop everything and come in and help, but didn't need to. Um, it was really powerful for me. And then once again, I got to Sunday night after I got home from work. I got to take part in my restorative circle again with some great people. Got to meet a couple of new people, and just kind of reflect on the day. And I think one of the things, as I was reflecting, that I really appreciate is that I am around people in my life, both personally and professionally, who encourage me and who help me grow as a person. Um, I've come a long way over the years in terms of trying to find the best way to word it. Being more willing to try and understand and gain perspective, I guess is the way to put it. We're in a job where we are constantly bombarded with behaviors and tidbits of information, and it's really easy to fall prey to this desire that we all have to make snap judgments of people based on those limited interactions, based on those behaviors that we see. And I am surrounded by people who are working together to help kids and adults shift behavior and to gain understanding. And so instead of judging a person or a kid based on some of their actions, we see behavior, we see something, we hear something, and the instinct is more to understand why is that happening, what's going on, what's taking place, what's causing this, versus making a harsh judgment about the person's character. And one of the things that I have found in this job that is really powerful is that I find that the more and more I do this, And the more and more I get to know and understand people, and I think the part of what has led to this is the fact that specifically in an elementary school where we have people and kids for 8 years, because we have pre-K, we get kindergarten, and then grades 1 through 6. And so you get to be with them for a long time, and sometimes, it may be a couple years before you really get to understand someone, whether it be a kid or an adult. But once you get to know them and understand their story, all of a sudden everything makes sense. And all those judgments you would have had melt away, and you go, whoa, like that could have been me. So that's why I try really hard to listen, which is a big piece of the restorative practices, is listening, to understand, being patient. And I always try to ask myself, anytime I walk away from a conversation or a situation where I'm feeling frustrated or insulted or confused or misunderstood, and I ask myself why, what caused that, what could I have done differently, what might be contributing to that, what don't I know? Because yes, it can feel good to make that judgment, but we've all been on hard times. We've all done mean things. We've all done confusing things. We've all been there. And we've all had our reasons, and we're all human, and we all can be pushed to that place. And the more and more I get to know people, the more and more I understand and appreciate people. And I had a friend who I used to think was just a very optimistic person. Who used to always tell me, because I used to get frustrated sometimes years ago, and I'd be like, I'd pull the whole, people stink. People frustrate me, and he let me know, people aren't bad. There's no, the vast majority of people are good people. And it took me a while to understand what he was trying to say. And that is that we are all well-intended, well-meaning, good people who are all capable of being corrupted by life. Life can throw curveballs at you that can really set you off. And once you realize that, and you start to understand people's stories, you have a greater appreciation for people. And sure, I still have days where I get frustrated and I give in to my emotions, but it's short-lived. It's not something I try to hold on to. So I really appreciate people. The more and more I do this. And I also got some really interesting perspective last night, in the sense that when I jumped from teaching to administration, there's a big difference in the job. It's still education, but it's a different feeling. It's a different job, and somebody framed it really well the other night without when I was being part of the restorative circle, and they weren't even talking about teaching versus administration, but it made perfect sense. They were actually talking about social work, but as a teacher, you go from as a teacher, you're creating individual change. You're focused on individuals and growing individuals. And then when you jump up into administration, it's less about focusing on individuals. I mean, that's still your ultimate goal, but you're doing it through a different means. Instead of working with the individual, it's almost about shifting and creating institutional change. So your focus is different, and the type of change and shifts that you make are more subtle and take a longer time to realize themselves. And that's why there's such a different feeling when you jump from teaching to administration. and it really gave me a lot of pause to think about, because it is something that, as being an administrator now for 8 years, I've been talking about how there's a different sense of fulfillment as an administrator, but there's also um, something that you got from teaching that you don't get from administration, and that really kind of did a really nice job of framing that, and explains why, like, administration's different, and has its own perks and has its own things that you walk away feeling good about, but it's a very different feeling from teaching. um, and I like the way that was framed. It gave me a lot to think about, and I think there's more to unpack there, as I take more time to think about that. um, and it prompted me to consider some other things as well. So just really appreciative of that conversation. But my video's hitting around 11 minutes, so I don't want to keep you guys too long. So I really appreciate you for tuning in, and thank you to everybody just for being you. And I'll check in with you next week.